Hello and welcome everybody to the Splinter Talk Show. We are now at episode 9. Thank you guys for following along on this journey. I can't believe people are actually listening on Spotify and Apple and Anchor too. People are listening to a podcast that never happens. It's unbelievable. So thank you guys for being here. We have 3 excellent guests, 2 returning ones, and a new one here today. Sinister, also on YouTube known as Tales from the Cryptomancer. Sinister, can you hear us today?
I can, and thank you for having me on.
Why don't you give a quick intro, like what do you do as far as content, either on your channel or Hive?
Sure. So all my content is pretty much primarily focused on Splinterlands, and I've been pushing YouTube content and Twitch content for a couple months now. So
awesome.
And he's
on
glad
to have you on, and then Steven Rogue back at it again. How many? I lost track of the leaderboard. How many are we at for each of you guys?
I think we're still even. Or no, have we caught up to Jim now? Jim was one up above us.
I think this one either puts me back on with Jim or to Jim at 5. I think 4 or 5.
I think you might be ahead of Jim now.
Yeah, I think Jim was on every time I was except for this one. So
yeah, last week he wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. And I think Rogue, this is 3 or 4.
It's either 3 or 4. Maybe 3 or 4. Man. I don't know.
And we might have to call you a regular now.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll be your regular.
There you go. Awesome. Well, if you're here live or if you are here in the chat, we would love this episode especially. We'll get the conversation rolling here with just the 4 of us, but we thought it'd be fun. There wasn't, too much in the town hall, although now apparently they dropped some announcements today. But we want to get some chat, hot takes, some questions, whatever you guys want. This week specifically, we're going to be paying more attention to that little chat box here on YouTube. So if you want to throw some shade at the game, if you want to say Splinterlands is the best game ever, it's going to moon in 2 days and we're all going to be rich, whatever your take is, whatever your question is, we'll all for debate and go ahead and discuss it. So thank you guys for being here. But before the chat chimes in, I just want to get your guys' take, right? We have heard, it seems like the community has turned very quickly, at least maybe not like the diehard Splinterlands fans, but just like the YouTube in general, things like that. It seems like people have moved from 6 months ago being super bullish on the game to a couple months ago being like, we'll see how it goes. To now all of a sudden, it seems like in the last 2 weeks, it is taking a turn for the worst. So I want to get you guys' take here. So on the spectrum of what I've heard of this left side, the Splinterlands world is burning. It's dead. It's gone. Jump off the ship as soon as you can. To the other side, which I don't know if anyone's like fully like bullish. This is the best time for Splinterlands ever, but maybe the other side of the spectrum is that zone of, hey, like, yeah, things are in a lull, but I really still believe in the project. I still love what's going on. So, Sinister, since this is your first time on, I'll kick it to you. Where do you kind of land on that spectrum?
So for me right now, it's all about patience. So I'm looking at the long game here for Splinterlands, and there's nothing that has been announced or that's on the roadmap that changes that. My positive view of what the game can deliver and what it will deliver. But, if you've seen some of my videos recently, I've brought up some stats and some data that, may be cause for concern in the near term for people that want a quick turn on the market and the cards and prices. But I think if we stay patient and we look at the long term of this game, I think we're in a really good spot. So,
yeah. And from your perspective, are you into Splinterlands more? If so, I just really love the gameplay. It's a fun game. Or are you saying that like I'm long-term bullish because I'm mostly in it for the investment side of things?
So I guess I would call myself a hybrid player. I love the gameplay and I also love the DeFi aspects of the game. So for me, it's kind of the best of both worlds. That's why, I'm kind of hooked on the game. But so I'm definitely a player of the game, not just a kind of sit by the side and earn passive income necessarily. But again, for me, I'm accumulating right now because again, for me personally, seems like a great opportunity. So
Cool. Rogue, what about you? Are you on the it's a sinking ship, jump off quick, get out of here, or you're it's fine, like we'll keep going.
I'll be honest with you. If it's, I'll go ahead. I'll say, yeah, it's a sinking ship. Everyone should get off the ship, and then while you guys are all swimming, I'm gonna take the damn ship myself, and I'm gonna buy all your cards, buy all your SPS, and I'm just gonna ride the ship myself, and it'll be me and Aggie and Nate, and we're gonna and Steve. And Luke and Sinister, me and Manser, we're all just gonna go sail off into the distance. All right. I did the exact same thing in Force of Will. I've done it many times. Like, if people want to bail, absolutely bail. I'll buy your assets. Like, if I have the money, like I'll probably buy it really cheap. But that's where I'm at. This is a game, and this is honestly what I signed up for. 100%, because I was in the crypto market. Like, that's how I got my feet into all this, and crypto sucks in a bear market. Gaming doesn't suck in a bear market. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally the opposite. Like, if I was just sitting on coins and I'm like, oh, the chart keeps going down, but like I'm looking at cards and I'm like, the chart's going down. Yes, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy. I keep eyeing that Yoden and I'm like, please cross that $100 mark once. You cross it once and I got you. Got you.
So can I quote you as saying, not only do I not think this ship is sinking, but I'm going to push you off the ship and steal your stuff. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, like, if you come to me and you're like, man, bro, I don't think it's doing so good. I'm going to be like, yeah, I think you're right. It might be bad. There's the exit. Like, you should definitely get out of here. Leave your stuff.
I mean, we need the game to survive at least a little bit here. We need some players, so not everyone.
Here's the beautiful part: is it will. It 100% will. I've been a part of enough small communities to know that if the passion is there, a few thousand can carry it. Like 100%. Like, looking at and especially, like, I'm glad Manser's here. Like, his video today, it was an absolute shock when he showed that back in June 2021, literally less than a year ago, 5,000 to 7,000 active players. Like, that was it. The game had been surviving for 3 years, had been building and developing for 3 years with 5,000 to 7,000 active players. Come on. Like, if we shave all the way down to just 3 times that, where we're like at 15 to 20,000 active players. But like, what are we at right now? 398. Maybe bots puts us at 150, humans or something like that. If we go all the way down to 20,000, we'll still be fine because of the dedication in the small communities there. You know what I mean? And then everyone will come back. And then there'll just be more of us here that were like, yeah, we were here the whole time. It was weird.
We never left. We were always here. Yeah, exactly. Steve, how about you? Where are you at on that spectrum?
Oh, I'm never going to think this game is going away as long as the devs keep being the ones who are always going to push as much value as they can, as long as the community still works together to help each other and push things, as long as you can find generous players who are giving things away, who are upvoting content on Hive. You know, I see a guy complaining in the chat that he's not making enough DEC. Go ahead. Have you ever done a share your battle post? He goes, what's that? And you understand he didn't join the community. He isn't in the Discord. He's not on Hive. He's just playing the game. And that's not what this is. It's all tied together. And that's something I try to explain to people. I need to do an update on my little post, but of my new account I'm building. But you use the blogging to fund the gameplay. That's always how the game survived before. That's why when I was playing, when there was only 5,000 of us, we kept, slowly earning Hive, buying cards, and that's how it worked when it got really low. And then all of a sudden, the project just exploded and things went crazy. And one day I went, oh my God, my cards are worth a lot of money. And that's we went back into a lull now where there's a lot of cards for sale because they made enough for a lot of people to join the game. And if you're really, engaged and building up everything and just stacking your cards, then one day we're going to be reaching a point where the land marketplace is going to be live. People are going to be staking a ton of monsters onto the land. There's going to be a complete DeFi world that you haven't seen that's part of the game now, with every single resource that the land's going to produce, with your ability to provide liquidity and earn funds that way. And then at the same time, we're finally going to get to a place where there's going to be a brand new reward structure that is going to be more enticing to bring new people into the game. And to boot, we're going to go, okay, now you don't even need that much power to go ahead and get up into silver and into gold. So go ahead and spend that money, get those cards. And I think those kind of things, while we might have a small shock to the system when we see how many people shrink their bots down, and we see maybe a little bit of more of where our real player base is, that's okay, because Splinterlands, announced today a new partnership to try to bring in more legitimate players. And that's a really good timing for them to do that, because we are facing a big change that could push bots out of the market. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of like in this place where I'm still amazed cards are even worth what they are today, which is, I know, a funny thing for people to see, but I was playing when people were selling their common cards for a penny, and rare cards were like a nickel. And so while these and
there prices, was bubble gum in all the packs,
and people just gave you cards for joining, and so we're at that point again where we've hit that lull where we're waiting for the next increase, and the team has to deliver on some of their things. And missing land and it being not till the next year does mean that this entire year could be a slow grind of packs slowly going out, of people being allowed to build up their decks. But all that means is that when this thing explodes, when the land comes out, when the DeFi world is there, when you have people coming to the ecosystem not to do anything other than play in the land ecosystem and the crafting ecosystem, the value is going to just explode. And at the same time, we're going to all have control of this huge account through the governance token that not a lot of people talk about. Like, once governance and validators are running and we all get a vote, SPS is going to have a real use case, and then they're going to go, hey guys, here's like what, $1 million, $2 million. What do you SPS validators want to do with it? Are you SPS stakers? And there's going to be quite an interesting vote to see what that does. Does it get burned? Does it go buy cards and burn them? Does it just get distributed to people staking SPS? I don't know what they're going to do with all that money, but it's going to be a very interesting time in the near future. And everything I see looking forward is just bullish when it comes to development. And if there's less people here now because they're just going to give up and run away, then that just means I'm going to keep getting more summoners. I'm going to keep getting $2 legendary cards, and I'm just going to keep adding those to my account. And I'm not even a big whale buyer. I know there's some other people out there that are buying a lot more than me.
Steve, you're a whale. It's okay. You can admit it. You're not a mega whale, maybe, but
I have a whale account, but I don't put whale money into the game.
Fair enough. Well, I want to jump to you, Sinister, because you had an excellent video coming out. Rogue already touched on it. But I see a lot of the chat, debating here, like assets and how many are out there with cards and SPS and all these things. And Sinister, talk us through a little bit, like, what was your video and data findings on how many cards were out in the market versus how many players?
Yeah, I think, just to summarize, basically before Chaos Legion and Chaos Legion reward cards, there was approximately 3 billion collection power in the game with, like we talked about, 5,000 to 7,000 players back in June. And then we ballooned to almost 500,000, between 400,000 to 500,000 daily active players around the October timeframe. And that 3 billion collection power was static pretty much at that point in time. So, we had all these new players coming in and scooping up cards. There weren't packs available, right? And what's happened since then is we've had the rollout of the Chaos Legion reward cards, as well as 15 million Chaos Legion packs put on the market. And that effectively has put back into the game over 5 billion new collection power. So the total collection power in the game is roughly estimated, once all the Chaos Legion packs are opened, at 8 billion collection power. And 5 billion of that is new. So what we've seen, and as both Rogue and Steve alluded to, is our daily active users and our players hasn't increased by, let's say, a figure of 1.64, which is roughly the difference there. But the collection power has. And because of that, the prices have come down. And again, and this has been mentioned, I think, in a couple other content creators' videos, you can't really have it both ways. People were complaining when Untamed prices were super high, and then when Chaos came out, they got super low. And there's a happy medium in between that. Again, you have to temper your expectations on the timeline. And the way I look at it is, there's going to be the players that are BU, like Steve, that are before Untamed. And there's going to be players like Rogue and I and yourself, Luke, or like BC that are before Chaos, right? Before Chaos Legion. And as long as the game has the incremental bump, just like with Untamed, with Chaos Legion, with new players coming in and new, I would say, attractions to the game with new game mechanics coming in, everyone's going to be fine. We're all going to be happy. And then the cycle will repeat itself. And then now you have two cycles. You have an Untamed cycle and a Chaos Legion cycle from a historic perspective to base future cycles and investment, let's say, faith, right, in the game, in the developers, and the community. And I think that's what we need to get to. And it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing which is frustrating for me as somebody who came from the trading card world is that you had said that there has to be a balance between cards being too expensive and cards being too cheap. And at the end of the day, the way that I've always viewed it is like cards that were just released should always be cheap. Like 100%, whatever is the most recent set should be the easiest and most accessible to get. And like, you don't get to expensive cards until time has passed. You know what I mean? So like, that's the middle ground for me. The middle ground is time. Like, give it some time. Like, especially, and that's the beauty of this ecosystem, is it is set up in a way that these cards are going to be deflationary. No physical trading card game does this, but every physical trading card game appreciates over time. Like, there isn't a single example that, except for like if the game just like would never took off, period. But like, everything appreciates over time. And now for our aspect, our ecosystem, you've added a deflationary aspect, and they maintain perfect integrity. They're 10 of 10, PSA 10 of 10s, every single one of them. And they are never going to, it doesn't matter. 5 years from now, they're all still PSA 10 of 10s. You know what I mean? They're not going to deteriorate. This is a perfect asset, like in terms of trading cards.
And I also want to maybe address video games comment in the chat, basically mentioning that he might believe that Splinterlands and SPS being a Ponzi scheme. And I strongly disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because any game, take Splinterlands out of the equation, any game that doesn't have players or community is going to not exist. And you can put that back into products as well. Let's say you're a retailer, a store retailer, and you bought a ton of Crocs, the shoes or whatever, and no one wears Crocs. Well, guess what? You're not going to sell the Crocs, and you're going to lose your money. That's not a Ponzi scheme. That's just supply and demand. And the same thing is true with a video game, whether it's Fortnite or whether it's Splinterlands. You have to have players and you have to have community for the game to continue, especially if it's a multiplayer type game like Splinterlands is. So from that perspective, I don't believe Splinterlands to be any type of a Ponzi scheme. It just is the way the mechanics work is, again, they've printed cards with the anticipation of the player growth happening, and now the player growth has to happen for the cards to basically do what they need to do, which, as Rogue mentioned, is to get leveled up, to become deflationary, and to be used in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for the Ponzi scheme, the Ponzi aspect has always been, like, I see. Trust me, I see it. I'm not gonna say that it doesn't, from the outside looking in, look like it. It looks like a pyramid scheme. The people that have the most get the most still. You know what I mean? The people at the top get the most. That's the way that it goes. But like, when I try to think about it in my life, and like especially in trading cards, right? I think about it from the aspect of, all right, so every small town has a local scene, right? You get to go to your local tournaments, and the local tournaments, You know, it doesn't take a lot of money to get there. You know what I mean? You're playing low caliber players, and the prizes are just meh. It's whatever the store can put together, maybe a couple booster packs or whatever, and whatever you spent in gas to get there, right? But then there's bigger tournaments. You can travel to like Channel Fireball tournaments. You can travel to GPs and all this stuff. But then you get into the point where like you're spending a good amount of money to get to these places. Maybe an airplane ticket, maybe a car rental or something, hotels, overnight stays, stuff along those lines to compete in big tournaments where you get big prizes. Then your little local deck where you were trying to play budget $100 and you were like getting second place at locals, that doesn't cut it in a GP. You have to spend the $400 or the $500 on the meta decks, on the best cards to compete in the best tournaments. You know what I mean? So it's almost the same concept here. It's like, look, like as the cards get better, like you get more rewards. You play at a higher tier, you get more stuff. Like, and I would argue it's the same for everything. Like if you made it to the World's Tournament in Magic the Gathering, unless you were sponsored, that's going to be an expensive journey, and that was an expensive amount of cards that you got to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, too many people don't understand that Splinterlands is trying to be Magic the Gathering. It's one of the ways that they've based their game off of. But to make it more blockchain accessible, they made it so that you could level up these cards and you could push them. But it's that exact same idea. Yes, somebody could quickly look at it and be like, oh, this is a Ponzi because you always need new players coming in. But that's not really accurate at all, because if you have a solid player base, you can find sponsorship for certain events. You can find other ways to make money. You can find, and Splinterlands is already showing that by the 2 celebrity, drops that they're doing that make excitement and get money going into the project. There's also going to be the crafting thing. And the other thing that, unlike any of those other type of things that they do, is once these assets are done selling out, they go into our hands, and then it's us who are making money doing it. Splinterlands never got thousands of dollars for any legendary cards. They got a little cut off of the market fees, but it was always players who got that big come up when we held these cards for long enough. And 5 to 10 to 15 years down the road, could the alpha cards and the beta cards not be that usable anymore in the game? It's possible, but that's where the whole land idea comes from, because you're going to be staking cards into the land to create resources to craft spell cards, and that's like a forever thing. As long as the game progresses, they can introduce new spell cards, and the alpha cards can always be the best at farming resources, and the beta cards the second best, and the Untamed the third best. And this is like 8, 9, 10 sets down the road, they can keep releasing new cards. And so, they have to have that kind of mindset, because that's who they're pushing themselves out to. For people to think it has to come to an end. Magic hasn't come to an end yet. A new generation steps in, and the game morphs and it changes. And
doesn't even have to be like a new generation. Like, that's the other thing. Like, I would counter the argument. We don't need any new players. 100%. If the team just wanted to stay where we were at with this amount of people, and we didn't bring a single new person in, but you had a loyal following of 7, 10,000, 20,000 people, that every year you dropped a new set and we bought it, that could be a sustainable business model. 100%. Like, and that's what I mean. Like, from a game standpoint, right? And Luke's mentioned this before, is in normal life outside of crypto, you have a gaming budget. You buy games and you do what you do. Like, I spent $2,000 a year on trading cards to keep up with the newest cards in the sets that were coming, right? Like, I have that budget, and that budget's not going to go away in this, you know what I mean? So like, even if I didn't make any money in like Splinterlands, I don't make any a single dollar, right, this year, I'm still putting in money every month. You know what I mean? Because that's what I budgeted for, and this is the game that I'm playing.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't change, So
and the video game who definitely is against it, who's pointing out like who's going to buy the cards when they go up to higher pieces, and there's always going to be a last person holding the card.
Still not champion.
Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's like the new players like you who come, and you're like a perfect example. And this is why I have so many cards, and why I like playing at the top league, is because we both came from a world where we used to play competitive card games, right? And you want to be the best, and you want to destroy your friends. And every time I beat Bulldog, I cheer in my room, and I think it's awesome. And every time he crushes me, I cry a little bit. but I like playing at the top with those top players. I want to compete with them. I want to compete in the big tournaments, even if I don't do that well. If I'm always stuck in 40th and 30th in the champion tournaments, oh well, it's fun to compete against those guys. And that's the mindset that he doesn't have. So he's obviously not that person, because there are plenty of people who, you get those trading cards, you get into these games, and you want to be one of the best players, and you want to have the best stuff. And they seem to think that we can't have jobs and bring in incomes in the outside world, or we're not in other crypto projects that we might make a big windfall in and then come into Splinterlands. Because it's kind of crazy to think, but when the game's launched, I spent like $20,000 worth of assets on my Chaos Legion packs. Because I went
had stupid crypto money.
Yeah, because I had stupid crypto money at that time. And if anybody who's in this space has to understand that we're going to have stupid crypto money again, probably, right? We all expect it to go up, down, and every time a little bit higher up if it keeps going. So during the next bull run, if all of a sudden you're sitting on SBS and they're worth like $20 and the next set is coming out and you're like, well, let me go a little wild.
I think it's just a complete misunderstanding of, I hear that all the time, not just Splinterlands, any NFT game. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. And it makes you pause because you're like, oh yeah, people at the top are getting the money. That's not what a Ponzi or a pyramid scheme is though. A Ponzi scheme is there's no product. It's just raking in money, paying the people that put in the initial money with the new people's money. And you have to keep constantly get new people. And there's no product behind it. It's like you're just raking in cash and then paying out the old people with that fake, hey, we actually made a sale or whatever we promised. Here's the money to prove it, right? And then secondly, a pyramid scheme, it's not about the product. Like, the big one, if you haven't watched the documentary on LuLaRoe, it's wild. But, it's like, it's not about me actually selling the leggings. It's me going to Rogue and saying, hey, actually, there's this new cool product that you can sell.
You want to sell leggings?
Yeah, and Rogue buys leggings from the company, and I get paid for that. It's not an actual sale of people buying leggings. So I just think those accusations are just complete misunderstandings. Now, of course, yes, assets can lose money. As you said, Rogue, like supply and demand, things can pump, things can crash to nothing, right? Yeah, that's the risk of any of these NFT games is your account, if no one wants to play the game anymore, it's worth nothing. Sorry, like that's just the reality of it. So
and no, anybody anybody that, and this is the other argument that kind of like usually gets under my skin. They're like, oh, my rewards aren't worth it, and I'm like, bro, like you haven't sat at a locals and pulled a booster pack and pulled the same rare 5 times, and you're just like, I already own this one. Like you open a booster pack and you've got 15 identical cards that you literally can't play. You can't do anything with them. They're not worth anything because guess what? That store owner's not going to... You know what bulk commons get you in the trading card world? Like 0.1 penny. Like you can give them 1,000 commons for like $1, maybe, if you're lucky. You know what I mean? Like that's the world I'm from. So yeah, I'll take my common now that I need 400 of them to finally get to max copy. Yeah, I'll keep getting those one at a time every time I show up to a locals. I'm happy about that. All right, this world is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the crypto world has spoiled some people.
It really has. 100%.
And the general world of this world spoils some people, because the idea that I can play a game for 2 weeks, get free cards every single day from the game, then get a big chunk of free cards at the end of those 2 weeks that all come to me and I own. And then there's this idea that you can't sell them or that somebody's going to get stuck with them if it comes to worse and everything was really bad, you can burn these cards and destroy them into cryptocurrency. Yeah. So it's just like people don't seem to understand. Like so many people have been living in the Splinterlands bubble, right? Where things went crazy and prices were kind of insane. And they don't understand the world of Splinterlands when it was DEC at peg. And there's this peg and there's packs in the sale in the store. So there's arbitrage bots that are ready to buy up every every single dot of your DEC if it gets down to a certain price, because they can turn around and flip it into packs and open them. And technically there's a math in there at a certain point where their burn value and the chance of your legendaries outdoes it. And anybody who thinks those bots don't exist, they do. They exist during Untamed. We saw it every time. DEC would get down to about 0.006, and all of a sudden, massive buys would come through, and pack sales would go crazy for a little while. And we've never seen that because we've been living in this inflated DEC world where everybody thinks that's a really, really good thing. But it's not super healthy for the game because it stunts game growth and game development. It stunts guild growth. It stunts community growth. It and everything, because all of a sudden you're like, because like the DEC to me, it was never supposed to do anything else but build up and level up your guild and buy you more packs. And it turned into, I'm making $50 a day and I'm taking this money out to go shopping and go buy dinner. But Splinterlands was always supposed to be this game where you buy a certain amount in, whatever you can afford, you start. You join the community, you blog about your journey, you take part in the community challenges. Hopefully you join somebody's Discord or Telegram. I run one, Luke runs one. Most of the bigger players will run one, and you'll find other players who will support you. You'll have fun building a little bit of a community. You'll have fun maybe becoming a content creator, whether it's blogging or you start a YouTube channel. And then over time, you just earn more cards and more assets and more things in the game. And then if the game blows up, if people like us are right, even if your stack is kind of small, if we become a game with 1.2 or 1.3 million people actually playing it in the next 2 to 3 years, which isn't that many people in the grand scheme of things, then these cards are just going to be worth a lot.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is before Splinterlands, right, there was no game that I ever played in my entire life that paid me to play. So before Splinterlands, I played a mobile game that was, all my assets are still there and they're worthless. I can't sell them. But Splinterlands, if you look at even After Sound, he just did a video recently, and he calculated the APR on playing Splinterlands right now is about 39%.
39%.
Silver League. Yeah. And that's with like maybe $150 investment in 2 Splinters. My bank won't give me like 0.5% up the previous month for the money I park in that. So if I can play a game and get enjoyment out of it, and I can still make 39%, that's a good deal to me. So I think we need to temper expectations again, temper the timelines. Everyone has different paths and journeys and expectations in Splinterlands. And if Splinterlands is not for you, then I can understand that. But I would say you might be hard pressed to find a better investment from a play to earn perspective right now.
And I think that's a really good point, is that, in crypto, I think whoever said that earlier, we're spoiled, right? You see these giant flashing numbers of 800% APR, which is like, that's never going to last anyways, but you see those numbers and you think that's what the expectation should be. And you're right, Sinister. Like, in the real world, the non-crypto world, where are you ever finding those numbers? That doesn't exist. And so, yeah, I think tempered expectations is huge. I want to jump to Phoenix Rise's question, though, from a while back, because, we can talk about how Splinterlands you can earn, right? But I think the thing is, we still need players. We still need to grow. We still need to have a player base for us to keep this game going. So, Phoenix Rising was asking, how's the team planning to grow? I spend time on YouTube, other sites. I'm not seeing any advertising for Splinterlands. And, what keeps people from, they're going to go to Skyweaver, Gods Unchained, or Steve, you're even talking about there's a new card game on Gala. How does Splinterlands grow now that the competition is getting a lot fiercer that they didn't have, 3-4 years ago?
I'll say that in general, the way that Splinterlands has to grow is still going to be a little bit of word of mouth. The other part is they did score a deal with the new advertising company. Now, I don't know a lot about that, but they're supposed to be experts in reaching out to Web 2. If you use Brave browser, you've probably seen a Splinterlands ad. So they do that, and that's a good place to pull people from. And then in general, the game just has to find a way to spread out and talk. And there's a couple things that helps it and a couple things that hurts it. The Hive ecosystem, if that begins to boom and succeed, and you see some of the other Hive games that are starting up become popular and competitive, you can see it. But definitely Splinterlands, the only game that you mentioned that I think Splinterlands really competes with is Gods. And, because Gods packs are similar to Splinterlands packs. it's not as easy to play and earn and get your cards onto Immutable X in the marketplace and get money in and out. That stuff is way more complicated over there. That's why I never got big into gods, and I got really mad at them because I played it for a long time and they didn't give me my airdrop because I live in the US and they were afraid of the government. And Splinterlands didn't do that, right? They're giving me my airdrops, and if the government's, they're going, that's one of the main reasons why they're going to validators and they're stepping away to make sure that this game becomes a game that the government's like, we want to shut you down. And they're shut who down, right? What?
Yeah.
So that they have a vision of a game that'll be run by the people who have the most and have the most reason for it to keep going and everything. In general, they do need a better marketing push, but right now, is it the best time to be pushing marketing with an extreme amount of money? Because I think a lot of people just take a step back and look at the world and look at the stock market and the way that it's dropping. Look at the way the rest of the crypto market is dropping. Look at the way that people talk about a possible nuclear war starting in Ukraine. And the United States had its first negative quarter announced, and if you're not paying attention to those kind of things, you're not always going to know that, like, if the U.S. has one more, then we're in official recession terms, and what's going to happen to all of the risky assets everywhere? They're just going to plummet. And so this isn't the time. I would say that, like, you want player growth, but this wouldn't be the time where I would do $1 million ad campaigns. Hey, come spend a lot of money playing this card game over here, when, some people in America, even America, are dealing with, like, gas way more expensive, bread way more expensive, milk way more expensive. And if you don't, if you're not we're not that time right now when, like, everybody's like, ooh, my coins are worth a lot, my stocks are worth a lot, the world's nice and peaceful, let me go have fun with my money. So this is, in my mind, it's giving people kind of a unique opportunity. If you're in anything that is letting you compound your earnings, that is letting you get more, and that you think is going to be successful when things turn around, when the war thing is figured out, when inflation gets back under control, hopefully, when money starts to flow into the crypto ecosystem. And, everybody talks about Bitcoin's going to be what, $100,000 Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin gets mentioned. And what would that do to the crypto marketplace? I mean, I'm not saying those things, but that's what you hear out there from certain people.
Yep.
And so that we're part of that ecosystem. It's not, completely coincidental that when Splinterland's assets were worth the most, it's when, everything else was kind of worth the most too. So.
Yeah, and I'll also say a couple things. One is, so per Chad, I mean, certainly Chatter has his work cut out from a marketing perspective to bring new players into the game. But as Steve mentioned, I would say that the big push is probably not the right time right now, because let's be honest, in the current game right now, the new user experience is not super great, if we're being honest, right? So if you're playing in bronze, you're playing against a lot of bots, you're not doing necessarily well earning rewards and stuff like that. And the experience is not fantastic. They're going to be making changes to the game with the rewards and other things, and let's see how those go. And then the other thing to keep in mind is also a way that you can bring a lot of eyes and ears to this game would be through a mobile client that is actually true to the game. And really, unless you're playing on a computer right now, the experience on a mobile device is not anywhere near the computer experience. And so we don't have the benefit of having that medium to really push strongly with either. So I think, if we get those two things in a better spot, then we can definitely make a bigger push for marketing. But I would also say another thing. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. If you go on Twitch right now, there's probably less than 30 people looking at Splinterlands content. And there's other games a lot smaller than us that have a lot more viewers. So we've got some work to do in the community probably as well, but it's going to be organic growth, and it's going to, be, like Steve said, word of mouth, and it's going to take some time.
Well, and I think that's fine, right? Like, going back to your whole video, circling way back, you're talking about, like, is it possible to get another giant pump like we saw with Untamed? And then on the other side, like, I have Rogue's voice in the back of my mind from like 4 or 5 episodes ago when you said, we'll never see a growth and crazy thing like we did with Untamed, was your take. And that stuck with me. And, I'm kind of thinking, like, maybe we don't want that explosion growth. Like I kind of like what you're saying, Sinister. Like how do we just take those in, those smaller steps instead of like, hey, let's burst. Like I feel like people want us to have like 1 million players by tomorrow. And it's like, if we had 1 million players by tomorrow, we'd be back exactly where we were before, where everything's way overpriced, way overpumped, and it's just not a fun experience for new players. So, in my mind, it feels like people want this huge explosion growth, and it's like, I don't think we actually do want that. Do you guys agree with that? Or
well, I'm 100% with Steve, honestly, on this one. Now's not the time. Like if I was in control of the purse, I wouldn't actually even be marketing this game for two things. One, because their vision is awesome and their foundation is great. But the game is not aesthetically appealing right now. There's like, we've talked about it. You go to any of those 3 websites. You go to Gods Unchained, you go to Skyweaver, you go to Splinterlands, and Splinterlands is like 3 of 3. It's ranked the lowest of all 3. You go to gameplay specifically. Gods Unchained is the closest, like, to being aesthetically on par with the highest online CCGs currently, like Legends of Runeterra, Magic Online. It is on par with those games and going to be the easiest transition from Web 2 to Web 3 aesthetically and gameplay. Like, it is the quickest and easiest to understand coming from that environment. Skyweaver as well, it follows the same thing. Splinterlands is its own beast. Like, when I was thinking about this today, it was almost like Splinterlands for me compares more to like a Candy Crush than like a trading card game. You know what I mean? Because of the way games play out, right? The like how quick they are, how easy it is to kind of pick up and go, with it. It's kind of got that aspect more to it than like an actual trading card game. You know what I mean? It compares more to that. And so two where I'm at there is like I'm in the same boat that Sinister is. We absolutely need the mobile app to be there, because if my argument is correct that it's more like a Candy Crush, then it needs to be mobile friendly. Like, that's where your on-ramp is. This is going to be one of those games where you absolutely, if you've got like 5 minutes sitting on the toilet, you bust this thing out and you start like jamming a couple games. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, it's like an advantage and a disadvantage, right? You're saying it's easier to transfer whatever you're playing, Magic the Gathering Online, Hearthstone, to a game like Gods Unchained, Skyweaver. I've seen other people mention Warsaken, the Gala one. What's the Gala one called?
Warsaken doesn't really have a game yet,
The one
though.
I showed you earlier was Legends Reborn.
Yeah, Legends Reborn. And so I think there's that, like, okay, we're going to transition those card players, those, TCG players that are hardcore into those games first. But I think Splinterlands has an advantage in that as well, that it's going to appeal to different players. Like, for me, now that I've gotten into Splinterlands, and to be honest, it's taken some time to like really, really enjoy the game in depth like I do now.
Exactly.
But when I go back to Gods Unchained or Skyweaver, I actually think it's boring now. Like, I'm like, okay, I have one deck. It's going to be pretty much the same gameplay every single time. Maybe, I got to get my 1 mana card, and maybe I have 5 different 1 mana cards, but I still got to start with one of those 1 mana cards.
And this is my point.
Yada yada, right?
This
and
is
so that's
my
where
point.
it's like Splinterlands, every match is there's nothing that can repeat exactly the same, right?
Yep.
And so it's just so much more engaging to me personally.
Let the other companies break the barrier. Let the other companies open up the floodgates into Web3. Like, we've already studied, like, I think everybody that's in the crypto world understands that we are following the same curve for crypto adoption as we did with the internet, right? Like, it's constantly brought up all the time. They're like, wow, look at this, how quickly everybody was picking up on the internet. We're following the same curve for crypto, right? It's going to happen. Mass adoption is going to happen. I personally don't think that Splinterlands on a stage compares to what Gods Unchained is doing or what Skyweaver is doing because of this aesthetics. But exactly as you said, Splinterlands has a better foundation. Splinterlands has a better ecosystem. Splinterlands has a better community. Everything that is important in terms of crypto, in terms of the actual ecosystem itself, is better in Splinterlands, and the game is better. So, like, one of the big examples, I've brought this up, like Gods Unchained has the same type of burn aspect as Splinterlands does. It was almost copied like directly from it. You can burn cards to make higher foilings of the cards, but the cards themselves don't change. You know what I mean? So like that aspect, like the base rare of the card is going to be the exact same as the diamond version of the card, right? It's going to be the exact same. So there's really no incentive to go leveling up your cards because you're not playing a different game as you're going, right? So that's one of the big differences there. And then number two is Gods Unchained is trying to follow exactly in Magic the Gathering's path, and they are releasing 190 card sets every 3 months.
It's crazy.
Holy crap. Like, that is on par with Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering releases a block every year, 3 sets, plus all their additional stuff. They flood the market with product. And Gods Unchained is coming right out the gate with that. And so like, in my mind, let them bring them in. And then just like you and me, you spend a little bit of time in Splinterlands, you'll know the difference. You'll believe in this project more, and you'll like it more. I love that every card in my deck has a purpose, because you never know when you're going to get pigeonholed into using one Splinter mini monsters. And you're like, oh man, that horny toad's going to put in work. Let's go. It's like mini monsters.
Never use the horny toad.
Yeah,
never.
right. But like, I used it in a tournament once because they pigeonholed me into like melee only, red only mini monsters.
I think I was in your live when that happened, and I was like, "No, don't play the horny toad."
It was
it's
just
useless.
like, I'm like, this is I have to do, like, and I won because I just had more cards than they did. I just had the right ones. Like, I only had 5 options, so we just ordered them in the right way. I was like, yeah, horny toad, right? Like, but that's what this game offers you. Like, in those games, you play with the best decks, 100%. You pull booster packs where cards aren't worth anything, and you're never going to play with it. Also, in the play to earn aspect, which they are going to get to, like where the diamond cards will earn you more if you're playing with them in your deck. Well, a diamond card of a card that you don't play isn't going to do anything. There's no collection power aspect. There's no anything aspect. The ecosystem, the environment, everything is better in Splinterlands, but it takes diligence. It takes coming to the town halls. It takes talking to people like us to make that conclusion, because I went to those other games first because it wasn't as aesthetically appealing here. But I ended up here because it's a better ecosystem.
And I think the key that you're talking about, Rogue, is depth. Splinterlands has depth in the economy, in the game with leveling of the cards and the different scenarios and the different rank levels, the renting of the card market. It just
the rental market is just amazing.
Insane. So the depth in this game is off the hook. And for other games like Gods Unchained to even come up with that is going to take them literally a long time, because it's not built into the game. And yes, they could, in theory, copy Splinterlands in how it's implemented, but to code it all in their game is going to take a long time. Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing
they focused on aesthetics first.
Well, again, that's the thing. Splinterlands, remember, has been around for almost 4 years now, and it is a pure web-based client for the most part, right? Gods Unchained is not a web-based client. They have their own installer and their own client. Mm-hmm. Same with Skyweaver, I believe. So we're not playing on level playing fields. But remember, the reason why Splinterlands did this, and they will tell you, is because they wanted to reach a broader audience. And once they get the mobile client in gear and they can get things on par and start to introduce more of the animations and more of the graphic quality with some of the technology that they want to use, we'll be in a much better strategic place than these other games. Amen. And this is what I keep coming back to. When you look at the development team and their vision and how they've executed on the vision and where they're at right now and where they're going in the future, there's just so many positive aspects to that. And that's what keeps me positive when the market's down, when the card prices are down or anything like that, rewards look down. It's understanding the vision of the team, their unwavering dedication to achieving that vision and their historic track record there. That's what gives me faith that we're going to be best positioned in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, the other thing that I always like love about this game and keeps me here and keeps me more involved in this than anything else, and I don't make as much content about the Gala games. I play a little bit of Gods Unchained, but I find it a little bit boring because it's too much of a copy of Hearthstone to me. And I don't think those copy games are really going to break through as good as people think. And it's that in the big difference is in all of those ecosystems, the devs aren't as in tuned with driving the rewards back to the players. And the Splinterlands team does that better than anybody else. Like, I mean, when I talk about the Gala games to Luke, he goes, well, they're too expensive for me because we're not talking about $150 to get a good deck. You're talking, $150 to get like one card.
Preach it.
So this game is accessible right now. People can come into it. They can get into it with like $50 to $60 and start playing it. You can get a Hive post that gets voted up to $10 or $20 if you spend your time. And it's funny because the exact post where they tell you, hey, come do this battle challenge, click a link here and we'll teach you how to do the whole post. And yeah, it takes time, but if you don't have money, then you better be willing to spend time. That's the adage of all the time. I mean, that's how I got into this in the beginning. I didn't have a big budget for Hive and Splinterlands and all those things. And, anybody who's here now, I think you're going to be rewarded a lot in the future. And I understand if you don't want to bring a lot of money into the ecosystem, if you don't have it, but there are ways for you to get stuff and to earn stuff and to still play the game. And hopefully, you're not going to listen to people who try to tell you that the game's a Ponzi when it literally is like stealing money from Hive and it all goes into Splinterlands.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of classifying us in generations. I think somebody had brought that up as like the BC or the AD, right?
That was
like
Manser.
Yeah, I like this. Like I could identify myself as the chaos generation. I like this.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think one of the reasons why rewards feel so bad, and I know they're going to do the reward rework, but even with that, I feel like until the SPS airdrop stops and SPS play to earn comes in, like right now, DEC is so inflationary, right? And it's supposed to be pegged. So DEC I'm ignoring. I don't really care about reward cards. There's a ton left to be printed, like a ton left. And
yeah, max supply is going to be 8 million on the common.
Yeah, and so it's like, cool, I'll get cards to play with, but like that to me isn't like my reward. Like I'm not liquidating and selling all those. Right now, it feels like the way you're actually earning is tournaments or the SPS airdrop, and most people don't count that towards earnings because they're either not playing tournaments or two, their airdrops are smaller or they're just like, that's not really play to earn, right? That's just like click my button to earn every single day.
Click my button.
And so the actual like playing of ranked feels very unworth it, right? So that's actually where I think more I can understand the frustration of like, yeah, if I'm just here to play ranked, it's kind of crappy right now. And I do understand other games that are trying to break out into a different model like Skyweaver, which is more like, hey, we don't have any rewards, we don't have any crypto. You can play in our tournaments and like win some like gold foil cards or whatever they're called over there. I forget what they're called, but it's much more of like just playing these tournaments, win to earn versus like I'm gonna try to get my daily DEC or reward chest. It's just very interesting to compare these different ecosystems of card games and even just all play to earn games, right? Of how they're trying to handle the earn aspect to it.
Yeah, and it's the most complicated thing, right? We've seen some very popular games completely mess it up. Thetan Arena is a very fun game to play. I know you played it for a while, Luke, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, no point anymore because their tokenomics are terrible and they got ruined and there was no point to that game and it basically died. Peg Axie was super hot for a long time, right? And then that started to fall off, and then people were like, "Oh, go play Krebata." That was really a lot of those projects only last anywhere from like 2 to 6 months. Then the token gets over farmed. There's too much of it, and we're talking. Splinterlands has been around for multiple years. They've gone with DEC being 10x over peg and half a penny value. They've gone, months and months where they used to have to do promotions to get us to buy untamed packs, which I know all of you are like, damn it, why wasn't I here? But they would constantly do like, hey, if you buy 100 packs, we'll give you 20 free because they were trying to push those sales.
Now they charge us vouchers.
So, well, yeah, that's another thing that none of us talked about is the whole voucher ecosystem and how you're earning those for your SBS staked, and then how they put those into the tranches for the SBS validators. And I mean, vouchers might be worth
$40 some.
Yeah, which is just wild. And they're the big thing that the game has shown me in the last 3 to 4 months is I used to think that this was a fun little Hive game that would help me build up my Hive account and I would have fun playing it. And it did do that. I have an okay Hive account size considering I haven't bought a lot of Hive and I have a good collection of cards. But then the game just blew up. It went to another level. And then Matt took a step back and he looked at what he was going to do and what the team was going to do. And he went out and he paid attention to all the other ecosystems. And now they're coming back and they're taking the best things that they've seen that have worked, like the Gala node system, like a DeFi system for their resources. And they're putting those things into their game and they're changing this thing to something in the future that is going to be when it comes to a crypto game, it's going to stand apart. There might be some games out there that might look a little bit better, but when it comes to, I think, the overall tokenomics, the economy, who owns the things, the different ways that you can earn in this game, there's not going to be anybody that comes close to Splinterlands. There's just not.
And I think you hit on a key point, Steve, when you talk about vouchers, is if you look at the behavior of the Splinterlands dev team, ask yourself this question. What corporate company in capitalistic world that we live in, right, gives away, how many millions of dollars worth of vouchers to players in the last 6 months? They didn't capture any of that value for themselves. How much have they already populated the SPS DAO with? Several $1 million already waiting there for SPS holders.
It's 20,000 a day.
The current vouchers is 20,000 a day before the nodes come in. I think that's correct.
So it is literally at value, right? Or value a couple days ago, that was 40K a day. At its lowest, it was 20K a day that didn't exist before the airdrop or before Chaos Legion. And they've had the printer on ever since. They're just here's 20K a day.
Yeah, and it's a built-in mechanism that they're going to go oh, hey, you need vouchers, and now they're worth $3 again for a little while. Yeah, and so they've literally built one of the coolest assets to trade you've ever seen. When it gets down to $1, start buying it. An announcement will come out. It'll go up to $2, and you'll double your money.
Flipping Luke, dude, I can't, dude. I had the same thought. So you and I are the same flipping person, but I didn't pull the trigger. We got up to about that $2 mark, and I'm like, ooh, I've seen this. I could take a little off the top. And I didn't. And you were like, yeah, I sold it too. And I'm like, Luke's wrong. It's never gonna go back.
Even I
it's
sold
never gonna go back.
100 vouchers.
And it's it's at $175 right now. And I'm like, is this gonna go back? After this announcement, people are still gonna let this thing go down to I was like, holy crap.
Hey, just rinse and repeat.
Buy more at $1.
Yeah. Right.
Depends on how many you're getting, right? Now we're sitting on.
And I've definitely done some videos on vouchers, and I'm a really strong believer that the team's going to continue to push value in that direction.
Oh yeah,
and
we've crunched the numbers at this point. It is silly how quickly that can go to we don't have enough vouchers. Period. This year, it can go to where oops, we ran out of vouchers.
It definitely could, depending on what they do with the voucher store, what they do with Rift Watchers. And we didn't even talk about Rift Watchers. Again, all that money for Rift Watchers, that's SPS that's coming in, is going to the foundation of the DAO. Mm-hmm. It's not going to the company. So,
not all of it, only 20% of it.
No, the Rift Watchers is 100%.
Oh, Rift Watchers, yeah. Rift Watchers is 100%, yep.
Yeah, so these are things that no other company does as part of their game and their product to continue to push value back into the stakeholders.
See, Sinister, though, the thing you just said there, no other game does. And this is why someone on my stream the other day called us Splinterlands maximalists. I just thought that was so funny. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's true though. It's like when we're on all these things, it's like there's lots of bullish things to talk about in the midst of everything being so bare right now. And of course, that's not, none of us, I hope no one hears that like we're saying all these bullish things as in like tomorrow we're all instantly going to have giant bags full of SPS worth $1 or cards. Like
this is for
when
my
we're talking about it. We're talking like
for me.
I mean, at least for me, I don't know about you guys. I'm talking like 2 to 3 years. That's like my mindset, right?
I mean,
a year and a half because land has to be here for the game.
Land's kind of a big one.
It's got to be out, and that ecosystem has to be built and up. And I mean, that's the biggest bugaboo in the game. If you really want to FUD something, is are they going to be able to hit land, and is it gonna do what they said it was going to do? Because his idea for land is just wild. And people need to go back to that time because Matt came and spit like some crazy fire, and my eyes like lit up, and my brain went crazy. And I went, "Oh my god!" Because it wasn't what I was thinking they were going to do with that ecosystem at all. So.
Yeah. No, and it's amazing this point, like that the validators, Rift watchers, like this isn't money going back to the company. This is probably the point that makes me the most furious when I hear people talk about burning Chaos Legion, because I think that is the most disrespectful thing you can ask of a company. Is like, all right, so this company gives you so much in a year, and they're one product that does go into their pocket. The one thing that they were like, yes, this is the thing that feeds us. This is the thing that allows us to grow. Everything else we do for you, this is what'll line. This will be like what keeps us going. That's the one that you say burn. You know, I mean, like, come on. Like, that drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts. Because, like, that's their money. You know, that's the Splinterlands company money. Everything else is going for us. You know what I mean? And so to just be like, yeah, no, you should shave like a couple million off that. Like you printed too many. Like just go ahead and take 8 million out of like your budget this year. Thanks, Splinterlands. I'm just like, dude, no, not at all.
Yeah. The idea to burn the pack seems so silly to me because literally the same people who are saying that are the people who probably a couple months before, when there were no packs for sale and cards were too expensive, were like super pissed off that Untamed packs were like super expensive and I can't get any cards and I can't do any of that. And then now packs are out and cards are cheap, and it's like the right time for people to come in from that aspect. And they want us to take that away and turn it back into the, now it's hard for you to come in because there's no card so that you can pump the bags. And you don't even have to do that because when you look at the marketplace, it's still low supply in the market. There are a lot of unopened packs because there are people like me. I have 2,000 unopened packs. I don't plan on opening them until all the legendary airdrops are out. Why did I buy them so early? Because there was an airdrop going on, and those 2,000 packs have just been paying for themselves almost in SPS tokens that I've been getting. So,
well, and it's funny if you remember during the pre-sale, literally people were pissed that they were selling packs to guilds. They're like making commitments, and this community at that point was like, there's not enough packs.
Yeah.
They're all going to sell it. The guilds are going to take them all. I'm not going to be able to buy a single pack, right? Like, how does it go from, please, Splinterlands, make more packs or make them more expensive so that there's still some for me, to now, 6 months later, way too many packs. It's just
it's the Splinterlands. It's the crypto shenanigans. Like in my mind, like I try to picture this like real world. Like customer goes to local store and is like, I'd like to buy a box. And say, okay, here's your box, and you're like, okay, and then you have this box, and then every week you walk into that same store and you're looking at their shelf and you're like, still got those packs for the same price, huh? Okay, come back next week. Oh, you still got some of those. You gonna burn those? You're just looking at this store owner who's got to like pay his rent and pay his employees, and you're like, yeah, this thing that I bought was a good price a couple months ago, but now I'd really like it if you just eliminated your supply.
I'm just
Thanks.
picturing in the back parking lot of Walmart, just like a little, can
Just
here with like all
seriously.
the packs in there. They're literally just lighting
Yeah,
it
they're
on
just
fire.
like, all right, well, yeah, I guess, yeah. You're right. You're right. You bought for us from that price, but now it's unacceptable for us to continue selling so that yours can go up. Yeah, sure, makes sense, buddy. Come on, dude. Come on.
Yeah, it's the get rich mentality of the crypto space, right?
Drives
Too many
me
people
nuts.
have watched that videos of the guys on TikTok who say I made millions of dollars on Doge, or I made millions of dollars on Sheeb, and they all want that, but that's not what Splinterlands is. Splinterlands is a long-term thing. If you want it to be quick, you need to come in with like $1,000, and then you can get to a place where you're earning a decent amount of cards, and you can compete in silver tournaments, and you can start earning that money back. But it's a slow grind, and you'll get to the place eventually where, like, because I remember I got to a place in the game where I could earn like $200 worth of assets and buy 100 packs, and earn $200 worth of assets and buy 100 packs.
Sounds nice.
And
That
I
would
was
be
just
great.
doing that for like, and it wasn't quick. It took a while, and sometimes it would be fast because sometimes you'll open a really good card in your rewards chest. And I will have to say that the high print rate of the rewards card has hurt that a little bit, because a legendary rewards card right now is only worth a few dollars. I don't know how that happened, but that's the one thing that maybe they're printing a little bit too much of this particular
Well,
set at
hold
this
on.
particular time.
Hold on, think about it. How much was your Krakens when they first came?
Kraken was probably, and not, they weren't $2 or $3. They were always like 10 or 12 when they first come out.
I believe a
But
Kraken,
that was also in $2 pack world.
and it was
so-
also 4 times the CP,
Yeah.
3 times, twice the CP. So like on a CP to cost ratio, I would say I think the prices that you're getting for reward cards are probably very similar to what the floor was back then. Like the cards just don't have, because of that low CP, they don't have the same oomph that they had back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, but there was that chance to open up like a gold foil legendary, and it would literally like fund your deck up all the way to gold if it was the right one, because there were some very, very expensive ones that were hard to get, and now I don't know that you can do that. Like, what's a gold foil Oceanus even worth?
Whoa! Let's not talk about what
Rogue's gonna go buy them all.
Oceanus was. We already know too many people been burned by that man.
Oh man,
Don't
what do you guys
mention-
think about Phoenix Rising? They're saying Chaos Legion packs don't sell out by December. To me, it's like, let's cross that bridge once we get there. The team has said we're not going to do it, but let's say we're actually at 10 million packs. It's December. Do you really think at that point they're not?
No.
Does
And
he keep the 5 million?
I've got 2 comments there. One, I am disappointed that the team has said they're not going to release the next set until Chaos sells out, because you absolutely can stunt your game at that point. Like, I'm fine with releasing 1 big set a year and 1 mini set. 100%. You could stay on that schedule and it'd be wonderful. You know what I mean? But to go on record and say that like you're not going to release the next set till all of Chaos sells out, like then we could get into a position where like maybe we do get stuck on like 3,000 packs forever because nobody wants to buy the pack. But point number 2, I don't think that's going to happen, because DEC is everywhere. Like it was by mechanism when it was up at like the 1.5 time, or the 15 times peg or whatever, it was being printed ridiculously like much, right? So like I don't think there's been enough burning of DEC since then. I think a lot of people have just been sitting on it, and so as soon as Chaos goes for 4,000 DEC, I think we're gonna see a lot of packs fly off the market pretty quick. Especially when, like, if anybody like me, I'm staying in my LP pool till the very end, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, so that way, hey, stop it, because here's what I think's gonna happen. I think that SPS is gonna make its move right towards the end of the airdrop, and then DEC is absolutely going to tank below peg. But because of the LP pool, right, if SPS keeps moving up, then I could actually really increase the amount of DEC that I cash out with. And with it being pegged, or like essentially peg, soft peg because of the 4,000 DEC per pack, I think I'm gonna make out pretty good from that aspect. Like if I cash out of that LP with a lot of DEC, your boy's getting a lot of packs, and we're getting some legendary summoners.
Yeah,
Let's
and I think that's
go.
exactly the case, Rogue. And I think we've talked about it in the YGG economy Discord, and I think that is the.
Oh, did I give away our stretch? Sorry.
Oh no!
Sorry,
it's
guys.
out
Never
there now.
mind.
Hey,
Do
you
what Steve
56
says.
people. Shh. No,
Do
I'm
what
joking.
do what Steve says.
Well, no.
Cash out early.
I took mine out when it was 10x.
Oh,
and
sorry. I didn't get in till like 2 weeks ago. So like I'm fine. I'm Gucci.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
I put in 2 million DC into a liquidity pool when it was at like under a penny,
Right,
and then I took it
Luke.
out when it was at 10 cents. And
Now
that's
you're just
how.
bragging. Show us a picture of the Lambo.
And this is a whale.
No, that's
This is a
how
whale,
I
this
bought,
is not a whale.
That's how I bought
Yeah.
I bought 4,000 pre-sale packs.
Nice.
So
Jeez.
That's-
but I
Sinister, what about you? Like, do you think there's anything wrong with like at the end of the year we still have 3 million packs and they just, hey, we're gonna get rid of them? What's your opinion on that?
So let me not answer that question because I will
Okay,
say
perfect.
let's cross that bridge when we get there. But what I will say, I'll take off my Splinterlands maximalist hat and I'll put on my realist hat. And to be fair, if you've watched my YouTube channel recently, I think I've been very real with the community on some of the data I've thrown out there. It's not necessarily always the most favorable, but I try and give the data to the community that I can find out there. And what I will say is I think it is open for discussion if maybe the devs took a very optimistic view on the Chaos Legion reward numbers and even the Chaos Legion packs. If you go through my video and you look at some of the data for the collection power, there could be, a case to say that, maybe a 10x on the packs or maybe where we're at with the rewards card was a little bit of an overshoot, right? It may be aggressive. And it may take a little bit more time to burn through that than anticipated. So I think that's a valid conversation. And again, I think we'll see more of just how real that is once the new ranked rewards comes online, and we can really see if it's not rewarding for bots to stay operational, then we'll really see how many true human accounts we have out there. And we'll be able to judge and be able to do some more analysis on the Chaos Agent rewards and the Chaos Agent packs. That being said, though, look, we're already over 8 million packs in the Chaos Legion from that perspective, which is over 50%. We're only like, depending on when you figure Chaos Legion started being sold in the pre-sale or the launch, let's say 5 months, 4 to 6 months, somewhere in like that time range. We still have plenty of time to go through the other packs. And as Rogue mentioned, once DEC hits peg or goes below peg come July, which is not too far away, a lot of DEC, I'm talking lots of decimal places, is going to be coming into the ecosystem looking for an outlet to get rid of that at better value than they can get in the market. And where they're going to do that is through the Chaos Agent packs. 100%. So I really do believe that's going to be a catalyst for purchases of those packs. And I think we might be surprised at how much DEC comes back in that sync there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That, and then also, like, I think my argument would be, like, still don't touch it. Like, if we still have all of this stuff unbought by then, I would just convince the company to be like, look, continue with the next set. That's fine. I don't see any reason why, like, if the 3 million Chaos Legion packs don't sell, like, leave them on the market for 5 years. Who cares? Like, what? We're not going to get a new player in 3 years? That's like, hey, what's that pack? Let's go ahead and buy that. Like, awesome. Like, what's this weird meta shift? Like, also, like, here's the other thing. What is the company going to do if we don't sell? And, like, are we still going to have those legendaries? Like, we'll never get those legendaries.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they can't burn them. Because, everything was built out and they planned the set out. And I don't think they can actually do that because it would mess up the whole legendary count and the legendary summoners. And don't forget that people won the pre-sale auctions, put a lot of money in to get to design those cards. And they're very special things.
I think if you burn them,
very rich players.
You have to do the airdrop then.
Yeah, but if you burn that pack and you do the airdrop, then nobody can open them in packs. And the supply on those would be Like,
Yeah, the airdrop would be really
you think
high.
Jotun's expensive? Those legendary summoners would be unreal.
But I mean, yeah, my argument is
especially
like,
because they would be the new kings of like the new meta for the next 2 years, right? Once those legendary come out, that's basically what they are.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that would just be wild. I don't think it's going to be an issue because we're not seeing Splinterlands yet do any of the kind of deals they did during Untamed to push packs, any of the kind of partnerships that they did with other projects. We haven't seen any of those because, instead of, X amount of vouchers to get Waka, they could have been like, hey, we're going to release this cool new promo card, and to get it, you have to buy 500 packs. And that's what gets somebody like me to be like, fine, I'll buy 500 more packs because I want that card. And they did that kind of stuff before. They did this special drop where like you got ultra rare NFTs on wax from the ultra rare project, but only if you bought 200 packs during this like week. And then all of a sudden, all the whales go like, I got to go buy packs again. And then it would be, even if they were sitting on too many, we just add more to our stack because we're like, we want that special promo. We want that special card. And there's all these little gimmicks they can play. But I think they're holding things close to the vest on a lot of things, on marketing pushes, on special promos for packs, for anything else, because I really think that the new reward stuff is going to be impressive. It's going to be really impressive, and they want that there, and they want the new player experience to come in, and packs are for sale, and you can buy packs, and you can buy cards pretty cheap, and then you can start playing the game, and you can start earning stuff right away. And I think it's going to be a totally different world when you're in bronze and you're opening up 6 chests and 3 of them have cards, because I really think that's where you're going to be going, and it's not going to be open up 1 chest and it's 1 credit. or 1 potion.
Well, and I think that's the hard thing though, is that I don't think anyone is here that's like, Splinterlands is in the perfect spot right now. Like, yes, clearly there are problems right now, and so you have to wrestle through the emotions and the frustrations of that and look long term, and you have to either make that guess based on the data we have now, based on what you think could come out and how that will happen. We don't know what those things will change: rewards, land, tournaments, all these updates they have planned. And so you have to make those logical guesses of, will this game survive? Will this game thrive? And so, a lot of people are just, I think, so overrun by the frustrations with the current state of the game that they can't see long term. And if they do see long term and don't want to be in the game and don't think it will survive, then fine, yeah, great, get out. Like, no one's holding you here, right? Like, why just keep smashing your head against the wall in frustration? Just like, okay, get out of the game, go do something else. And I think, to Sinister's point, if you're taking off your Splinterlands maximalist hat and you're putting on your realism hat, like, how many video games in general survive longer than 5 years? And obviously with NFTs, we're going to see how this affects gaming, and it might work.
But this isn't a video game; it's a trading card game. But they have a longer shelf life, in my opinion. If they're
sure, but how many card games have also flopped? There's gotta be. I mean,
you're right. I mean, when you're in the trading card world, there's the Elite 3, and then everything else is like a tier below that. Those 3 are on a pedestal, and to compete with them is damn near impossible. You're either Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you're not any of those, like, you're playing with a smaller community than the rest. And that's why I don't have an issue here. Like, I've lived and played in those card games. Like, everybody that played Magic the Gathering was like, oh yeah, Force of Will, you're dead. Dude, I played for 4 years while everyone said it was dead. Competed, won, money. Like, I did fine. I'm funding everything in the crypto world with my dead Force of Will cards. They're not dead.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand that, and I wonder if there's a difference between physical card game and online card games too, because I used to cover Steam games. Like, that was my first YouTube channel, and I haven't gone back and looked, but there used to be different trading card games coming out all the time on Steam, and I would assume that 50, 60, 80% of those games are probably dead. No, you didn't own those.
That's the difference. So you can't compare those. Because we all own our Splinterlands cards, and that's where I think it became a real trading card game. Because, like, why didn't I want to play those games when I was a Magic player? Because I didn't own the cards. I couldn't resell them. I wasn't going to have them with me. So, but as soon as you get to own the cards, then I think it becomes an actual it actually, you know, becomes something that.
Sure, but what happens when every trading card games now becomes an NFT game? You know, is there really going to be 50 trading card NFT games that can all survive at the same time?
No, but none of those are going to have Matt Nagy.
Yeah,
and that's the point though. It's like we're betting on the team.
Where we got lucky though, because we have a team that is showing that they're going to give value back to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without a doubt. Because think about it, a greedy company when things were hot would have been like, we decided to issue 2 million more Untamed packs at $20 a pack, and you know what would have happened? They would have sold all of them and made $40 million.
Man, I love that
in 2 years.
You know, and they've had so many opportunities to just during that bull phase to just put it to us and just they don't, and they always, I mean, when you look at, you know, where they sell their products, they sell them so low for such a successful game that we're at $4 packs and you can buy these singles so cheap. It just blows my mind that I've been buying O'Shaughnessy's for $2.50. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and that's go ahead, Sinister.
Also, just to add one other thing to Rogue's comment. He mentioned the big three. One of the things that wasn't mentioned is probably our closest target audience, perhaps, and that's Hearthstone. That's a digital card game that's obviously very popular, that doesn't have ownership of assets. That would be a great shift of community from that game to our community. And if you look at Twitch, just as an example, Hearthstone has 9 million followers. So if you look at the opportunity in front of us, that's just one segment of the market that's probably closest to us, and that's 9 million prospective customers to the game. And that's what we're talking about. Not even including Magic the Gathering and these other, you know, physical card games. So this is the opportunity in front of us. And as I mentioned, you know, we're first kind of to the market space. We have a foundation set. We have the depth that we've talked about. We have
the important part of the foundation, the finance part.
Exactly. So having that gives us an advantage to having a better game in the blockchain moving forward. Now, yes, there's work to be done. Absolutely. And yes, time is not infinite. You know, that doesn't, I mean, Hearthstone, obviously Blizzard's a big company, AAA title that could easily come onto the blockchain, right? And when they decide to do that, if they haven't already decided to do that, there's only going to be a certain amount of time before that force comes to bear that we'll have to address. That's why the ramp up of the team at Splinterlands that's happened over these last several months is key to getting the roadmap developed and to continuing to build that competitive advantage in this space.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was saying those things not as in I don't believe Splinterlands. Obviously I do, because that's why I'm here, right? But I think that everyone needs to come up with that percentage in their mind, right? Like, what is your percentage that Splinterlands is going to remain and still be in those top 3 or top 5 card games, however you know big you think that list can be of NFT trading card games? You know, what's your percentage? And for me, it might be like, oh, you know, I'm like at 80%. Like, yeah, there's, of course, any game, any project, anything could fail for any reason, right? So it's not that I'm 100%. This is, you know, put your money in and you're going to be guaranteed that your assets are going to go up over time and Splinterlands will always be successful. But I think what I've seen is more people have gone from like they used to be 90% and now that's all of a sudden a bear market. They're at like negative 10% maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that first bear market's tough. You know, I've lived through one before. So now I'm just like, yeah, this is the time where you just get more of what you believe in. Things are cheap. If you have a job outside of crypto, this is the time to bring money in. Even like I had said that like I'm not going to buy any more cards for a while after I bought those packs. And for the first time looking at this market, I'm like, you know what? I just might have to bring a couple $1,000s into this market and, you know, play sweep the floor on a couple of those cards.
Uh-oh, guys, get on the O'Shaughnessy now. Get on the O'Shaughnessy now.
No.
2K's coming in for O'Shaughnessy. Get it.
But it's like, I'm just looking, I'm like, I can't believe in $4 packs people are selling their summoners for like $2.
Oh, yeah.
And especially because, like, as long as I believe land will come out and Aggie has said land will need a summoner. And there was 150,000 lands that were already sold, people. They're not for sale. They're sold. And they're in hands that are very itchy to get them producing. So theoretically, I need 200 summoner cards to put on land, and I'd preferably not have them be level 1 because I know level 2s are going to do better, and I know level 3s would do even better. And so I'm just keep watching it. And if they get under $2, oh boy.
Yeah.
So Steve, what's your percentage that Splinterlands remains whatever that top 5 NFT card game for the next 5 years?
In the crypto world, I'm up there at like 90%.
Okay.
I think the only thing that could really ruin it would be a serious, like literally an accident that took out some of the team members that were irreplaceable or something crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it'd have to be a black swan event for
Government
them not
shutdown.
to go. Yeah, like if somehow Aggie and Matt got arrested by the SEC or something.
It would be and that's the thing though, is like I'm totally fine even if it doesn't stay in the top. Like it can absolutely be like a diamond in the rough type of project, because you know that's kind of like when we talk about the numbers that exist on Web 2, if we were only 10% of that, we would be like 100x where we're at now. You know what I mean? Like it's like
the land comments. I'm sorry. Land 2030, 2040.
You know, but yeah, I think it's this is what I'm most grateful for, is because when I first started dipping my toes in crypto and everything, everybody talked about the bear market. They were like, yeah, the bear market's the time when you fill your bags. And I'm like, dude, well, thank God that my bag is a deck and I get to just play with them. I get to play with my bag. No, like, say it.
Excuse me?
Just get to, you know what I mean? Like, thank God, you know, because if I wasn't doing it, it'd be boring. It'd be stocks. It'd be whatever. Like, I'm playing. Like, I'm playing. And it's awesome. I love
It's
it.
the beauty of the game. When
love it.
SPS dips to like 11 cents, I don't worry about it. I just go and play another ranked battle. It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like when it comes to the game, I log in and I play till I don't want to play, and then I go away. And like I'll forget to claim SBS for a while. At this point, I had to go check my vouchers because I'm like, how many do I have? Because I forget about them until we do these streams. And I just get reminded, like,
nice.
wow, they're just poor. But see, if you keep playing, you'll be me for the next set, right? You'll have 2 million collection power. You'll have thousands and thousands of SPS with staked, hopefully.
Can we
So
get that
you're gonna
trending?
need
Hashtag play with your bags.
Oh gosh.
Prepare for the bear market. Hashtag play with your bags.
Oh my gosh, stop. Steve, I think you're gonna need to hire a personal assistant or manager just to like go through your
handle your
Splinterlands
bags.
assets. Yeah.
The play to earn side of like everything I'm getting into is getting way too wild. Like I'm like I don't have we need to get out of the bear market, because if these things were all producing like they used to, I could finally stop working. But
Moving on, Sinister. How about you? You give us your percentage here. Let's ignore Rogue.
Wow. Well, I mean, considering Splinterlands is the only play to earn game that I have actually money invested in, I would have to say my confidence is pretty high. And it's for all the reasons that we've talked about today. I do agree with Rogue, and I think this game, this company is a diamond in the rough. And I just think we're at a unique inflection point where we could see some really great things. So I'm very positive, and I guess that's my maximalist self talking there.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like if you're in it just for the instant return, like honestly, like I could play this game for the entire year and none of my cards or SPS goes up and I would be totally fine. But maybe that's just where I'm at, and some of the community is can't get there for whatever reason, and that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, because like I don't know, I've always played this game and just got more and more and more and more. That's how I ended up with my 2 alt accounts that have level 6 summoners. That's why like my other 2,000 packs are to give them more summoners from the chaos set once I open them and things like that. And it's like I look at this and I'm like, it blows my mind that like I can own all these assets and I'm allowed to bot them. And people don't hate my bots because they're not the stupid bots. They're bots with cards that I paid a lot of money for.
I still hate
As
him,
much.
Steve. Down with Steve's bots.
They got
You
the
started
diamond.
right.
They got the diamond 2 and diamond 3 again.
Wow.
Gosh.
Those accounts.
Bots.
So it's a unique ecosystem because like that's where people just like say like, do you need a lot new players? You don't necessarily. If we all keep earning, if we all keep posting, if we all keep making content, because I'm running 2 accounts, I'll run 5 if prices stay this level. I'll run 6 and they'll all be high level and they'll all be earning. And then when things pop, especially because we're think about it, in a couple months or time, we're going to be earning SPS per battle. How many high level accounts would you like to have at that point when you're earning SPS every single win?
All of
The
them.
governance
I'll take all of
token,
them.
yeah, the governance token of the game. That's when the first time things are going to start to get a little spicy around here again, I think, for cards, because that's just wild to me.
It's the biggest kept secret in Splinterlands, honestly, Steve, and no one's talking about it. It's what comes after the SPS airdrop. And this is why Matt and Aggie are specifically not talking about that. But that is the next big thing that's going to drive asset accumulation, market price increases, because the assets in the game are going to allow you to earn more. And I know people have said, well, as soon as you start rewarding SPS, it's going to be like Axie, where the SLP just gets drained out of the ecosystem, people cash out. But I don't think that's the case, because with SPS, if you reinvest in the game, you'll earn more SPS. And that's the interesting flywheel.
Well, and vouchers.
Well, it's
Well,
all
vouchers
compare
on
'em, right? SPS
who's
is more
getting
comparable to AXS. It's not the SLP.
Because real players are going to be getting it, and the real players and the people who are really good are going to be getting the most. And those players have shown that they're going to reinvest into the game. We had VC investors, and you had people who just bought stuff, and it was in their calculus to get the SPS and dump it to get their money back for what they bought. So we've had a lot of downward momentum because there's been it's been given to you for nothing. But when you have to earn it, and you have to earn it per battle, I think that's going to be different. Given some people will flip it into cards.
Sure.
I don't know, man. I'm still like, I can't. So like, I just don't have enough staked. Like, that's where I'm at. I'm so far away from like stake goals, and I'm like, man, I can't spend any of this.
What's your goal?
Well, first goal is 5850. 5850 is the bronze blunderbuss, like the one that pays out 250 for first. That's my first sight. And then there's a couple gold ones, I think, at 7K. But honestly, dude, I think I gotta just keep going all the way up, because like once I get to like gold, and like once I'm playing in silver, I'll need to play in those tournaments, and I'll need it. So we gotta go.
Just one more dollar.
I'm trying to think. What is it? It's like is it like 13,000 SPS get you 1 voucher a day? I think, because I'm
no
currently
idea.
getting like 0.2 vouchers a day at 40 or at 4K. So yeah, I think it's like 16,000 like SPS. So like that's a benchmark. I'm just like, yeah, I'd love to be getting 1 voucher a day. So like I need a lot more. So yeah, I don't know. Like, bless your heart for being able to spend SPS, but I can't. I gotta stake it all.
Yeah, the only time I spent it was when I had to, when they forced me to. So for Waka, right? Didn't we have to pay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, really twisted your arm on that one.
I've staked all the rest of it, and I've ridden it all the way down to 17, to this 13 cents. But I have 292,000 at this point.
And yeah, that's a couple vouchers a day.
I'm gonna write it.
Just a few.
My goal I set out when I started getting it was to get to 1 million staked, because I want to have that big vote, and I want, like, when we're having those governance things, I want people to have to talk to me, because my vote has a lot of weight.
I'm gonna talk to you.
But
be like, hey man, they're thinking about burning packs, and be like, Steve, vote no. Vote no on Proposition Burn.
And I mean, it's hurt a little bit to, like, I almost wish they would give me a button to hide the dollar value. Because like I look at the stake
Right.
number and I'm like, awesome. And then I look at the dollar value and I go like, oh, it was higher a while
Yeah,
was
ago.
higher.
well, that's why it's so easy to get emotional, right? It's
Yeah.
like you just see it
Yeah.
drop and drop and drop.
Yeah.
For me, I'm actually getting it higher because now I'm earning from tournaments. So it's
Yeah.
like even when it dips from like 13 to 10, it's like, oh, it's still more than it was 3 weeks ago because I'm just stacking it up. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, it's just so funny to just try to even read the chat right now because it's
we didn't.
It's like
we
the
didn't answer a lot of
polar
questions.
opposites. Well, I mean, I tried to throw in comments here and there, but it's like complete polar opposites. You got the people
What
who are just
they hate us?
no, it's like you got the people who are slamming Splinterlands, and then you got the people who are like, "Give me your cards, sell them off. I'll take your land. I'll take your legendaries. I'll take whatever."
Well, there's only really one person, you know. Obviously, video games is a troll, or he works for a different game, or he.
I mean, I've seen other
burned
comments
hard.
that are a little negative about things right now. Maybe not like panic, sell, the game sucks, but.
Hey man, it's cool. We feel you guys. Like I like 100%. Like we saw where it was. I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I listened to a lot of people, and I've been paying attention. And they said don't ape into anything. Dollar cost average. So I still have fiat to today. And for the last couple of months, I've just little bits here. So I've been dollar cost averaging into my position that I'm in right now. And it's fantastic. I didn't make my move into the LP till it got down below DEC, got below 2 cents. Like these opportunities came up. So like I didn't get burned like anybody else that aped in the hype. So like but I feel you if you did. Because After Sound talks about it. I remember that video when he was like, yeah, I spent like $300 on this gold foil O'Shaughnessy, and he's like, I don't know if it's going to be a good call or not. And then they like released Chaos Legion, and it just like tanked, and I'm like,
yeah, but you gotta understand you gotta understand the wheel there. None of these things went up crazy until you can't get them anymore.
Yeah.
And if I didn't think these would get that low. And it does show that maybe we need like a bit more players who are active in buying and care about winning more and aren't just going to grind it out. I don't know. Because O'Shaughnessy is really powerful and kind of broken. When I use him on my ult account, he just dodges everything and kills other teams. So I'm like, why aren't people buying this? And people want to play with it because I buy them and I rent them out, and I rent them out for only 2 DEC, and they get rented immediately, and they're always all rented out. So people understand he's powerful, but they're just not buying it for $2. I don't know. That does worry me a tiny bit.
Yeah, well, that's where I think if they can make it more competitive, the reward reworks maybe to incentivize you to actually climb higher, tournaments, things like that. If they're actually getting people to want to play
No more
and
daily
win.
No more daily quest. Oh, the days of no more daily quest. It's actually going to make the game a lot more fun to play, because sometimes when I stream the game, literally I was playing the game last night in my 2-hour stream when I was playing Spider Tanks. I was going back and forth between the two games. And I was trying to do a no neutral quest, and I was just getting my ass kicked and getting pissed because I couldn't use neutral cards. And I was like, this is so stupid, because some of the neutral cards are some of the best in the game. Dr. Blight is like an amazing card in certain rule sets, and I'm purposely pigeonholes you into weakening your deck or to trying to play a team that you're not good at. And when that's gone, and it's just, hey, play as much as you can, win as much as you can, and use everything you have in every single match and every single
well, I mean,
battle.
they're still going to have a focus. They're still going to have a focus, and we'll see exactly what that means. But
well, because from what I understood, from what I've gained, they're going to take away the daily quest, and it's going to be more of a work your way up, kind of the way that almost the way Gods does it on the weekend, right? Your first 25 matches of the weekend, how do you do in those? It's going to be similar to like that in Splinterlands, but it's going to be every day.
Well, the way that I've interpreted it is essentially like I kind of viewed it as like at the end of a match, you'll get DEC, you'll get focus points, and you'll get season points. And they'll be different.
Yeah, but the amount of focus points you can earn per match will go down.
As your capture rate,
as
but
your capture rate
I don't think you'll get the focus points if like you're not doing whatever the focus for that day is.
Yeah, it still sounds like
Oh.
kind of.
I took it as
questing.
that you would just be playing and earning them, that there wasn't actually going to be a daily quest anymore.
No, I kind of interpret it more like rogue. Like your focus of that day is no neutrals, so it's like to get your
maybe,
focus.
yeah.
I don't know. We could be wrong. They haven't.
Yeah, but I mean, like it
specifically
could
said.
be like the way that I view it is it's going to be like a capture bar. So like for you, like playing up in champion, you might like as soon as you knock out your first, like if you do one and it's like no neutrals, you do your first match, you're probably going to get so many focus points. You'll get like 5 chests on like your first one. That's the way that I view it, is like it's like a bar that'll you fill up and you'll get a chest. Fill up, you get a chest. Like the first one will be like 10 focus points, gets you a chest. Next one will be 20 focus points, gets you a chest. Resets every day, something like that. But then like they had mentioned that you'll get more points, a lot like DEC. Like if you're up in the higher leagues, you'll get more points. So that's how the people up top will still get more chests, but it won't just be like once a day. Like if you're in bronze, you can still get a chest, and once you get that chest, you can get another chest. It'll just take longer, and it'll still be a grind.
The chest will have different things in it, and I think you're right, Rogue. From my understanding, that's my understanding as well. That you'll have that daily that daily focus. So Steve, you might, instead of having to win 5 non-neutral battles, you might have to have a whole day of unlimited
Ruined my
non-neutrals.
mind.
I'm
Well,
sorry, bro.
They
because
should reset
champion
it
is
then.
so competitive. I'm trying to move up the ladder, and then all of a sudden, like I like literally doing my quest is the part of the day that I hate the most, because it's like I'll try to use a team when I'm not supposed to. You're like, I just want to use
force
fire, or like, I only need one more, so I'm just gonna force. Then you lose 3 matches in a row. And you're like, yeah, I shouldn't have been playing that team. Shouldn't have been playing that setup.
Yeah, Sinister.
Yeah.
Would you rather see it like as you get that first focus, it resets to a different one, so it's not like, hey, for this entire 24 hours, you have to continually look for those no neutrals or
Because
that
I thought they
fire
said
only.
the
It would be
good
nice.
place to aim for would be like 30 matches. Could you imagine needing to having to win 30 matches with one team, or
Yeah.
one like quest that we have today? That doesn't sound enjoyable. Somebody needs to talk to the team.
So I would say that it would be nicer, like you say, like if I achieve my focus for that mission, maybe it rotates to another random one, so I'm not having to do all neutrals for or no neutrals for the entire day. I will say that would be better, but let's see what it looks like in the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the argument
I like my
might
setup
be,
a lot better. Just wins.
dude. I'm sorry, bro. Well, I think
Hey, wins are
I mean,
hard to
unless-
get sometimes.
unless focus points and season points are essentially the same thing, right? But like, I think the argument's going to be like, look, because season points exist, just playing and winning will be awesome, and it'll be different than like the focus points. So then the theory is you're going into ranked for season points, and along the way, like if that is good enough, then you can just be playing to win, and along the way naturally hit some of these, because you naturally do play some matches where like you don't play a neutral, or you're automatically going into a fire or something along those lines. Like maybe that's what I'm most looking forward to. Ranked rewards is the fact that my season end is going to be dictated on how I managed my ECR and how much time I spent in game during the 16-day season. You know what I mean? Like instead of just where did you end up at the very
Right.
end?
I mean,
Here's
climbing
a
to
base number.
climbing to silver takes you 2 days. Like even if you don't have a deck,
Yeah.
the first day or two maybe is hard, and you can go rent to like silver on day 3. But then it's like, okay, if I don't have any more card power the next 13 days, I guess I'm just gonna
Daily
shoot
chest.
for my daily chest. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
And
whatever.
tournaments.
So yeah, there you go. So hopefully they can increase the engagement daily. I think that's the other thing that we're not seeing is that coming back, that gameplay loop that makes you want to play each and every day in ranked, not just the I got my chest, cool, I'm out of here, cool, the DEC doesn't matter anymore, so I got my either 2 potions or I got maybe a lucky rare card.
Yeah, because you know what would be really interesting? Like I was watching Bulldog stream last night, and like I don't spend like enough time watching whales, but maybe I should. He was playing in champion, and the majority of the champion leaderboard didn't have power, right? So they had already like gotten up to like a pretty high rank, and they're still on the board, but they didn't have power, so they didn't like have a thing, right? So like these big dogs are like putting up like good scores and then renting out for the rest of the season, but everybody in that league is still getting the same amount of league end rewards, right? So like everybody's still getting the whatever 175 chests you guys get at the end of the season. But if they're not playing that account anymore, like that'll actually be a decision of like, look, are you going to rent your deck or are you going to keep playing for chests at the end? Because if you choose to rent your deck, like, you're not going to be getting season points. You might not be getting that. So like this might actually go in the way of the people that are playing the game are going to get more of the chests.
There's a little more shenanigans there. Though not all of them are renting. Some of them are delegating and then playing on a different account.
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully, I think those are the things
so it's that
they're trying to
ECR
fix.
management.
Yeah,
that's really good. That's smart, though.
Sorry.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, we do got to wrap up. I do want to end with Weird Beard. He did confirm. I don't know if he's leaking this, but top Splinter Talk news here. He said it's closer to what you're saying, Rogue, from his understanding that you'd complete by playing more often, not just trying to force you into a specific style. So maybe, Steve, you will get your wish there. You won't have to slam your head against the wall with 30 neutral.
Yeah, the
neutral
way I
battles.
understood it, and I know it wasn't perfect, was like the idea is that when you're playing to win, and in the beginning you earn a lot of focus points, and your first goal to get your first reward for the day is pretty easy, and the second one is pretty easy, and the third one is pretty easy, but the fourth one is really hard, and the fifth one is like really hard, and then one of them is going to be like literally win 1,000 more games. And you're going to be like, okay, time to stop. You know, at some point, right? There's going to be
time to bot, Steve. I joke. They talked about preventing that. They talked about preventing that.
But it was going to be like that. And then so there was really I like that idea a lot more because it makes the game more competitive. Because to be honest, when you run into somebody who's played water for the last 4 times, you're like, oh, they're on a water quest. Let's counter water. Yep. So if that stuff wasn't going on, if you weren't getting, because like the quests, I don't know what they add other than frustration to any of our day when you're actually making your teams, right? Because like all of a sudden it becomes every single match
it's a
like,
distraction.
Can I play fire here? It's not can I play the best team, it's can I play fire.
Totally.
No, let
100%.
me go play this instead. And then the next match, oh yeah, fire could work here. And then you're like, yeah, I knew water would have been better, but I got my ass kicked because I was trying to play fire. And then that hurts like win percentages. It hurts your way of ranking up. It hurts the whole grind to the top. Now it's kind of worth it because you get chests, so you're trading. Yeah. You're trading. You're dealing with that frustration to open 10, 12 chests up in the upper leagues. Yeah. So.
Well, hopefully all those changes come in soon. We can actually see what it's like and then get to test it and talk about it. That's what we're all waiting on here. But we are going pretty long, so let's wrap up. Sorry, Jarvie, who just came into the end. If you are coming here at the end, just go listen to the podcast. Or Jarvie, maybe even jump on one of these weeks. We'll have to have you on here as a guest. That'd be a lot of fun. But let's have you guys all sign off. I'll start with you, Sinister. Where can people follow you?
Well, thanks for having me, Luke. It's been a pleasure. Definitely a great panel here. So you can actually check me out on YouTube at Tales from the Cryptomancer on YouTube and also on Twitch. And we post Splinterlands content pretty regularly. So hope to see you there.
Sweet.
We'll see you in Vegas.
Indeed.
All right, Rogue. How about you?
Very simple. Rogue Patton on all things Hive. I post on 3Speak and I post on Peak D. Those are kind of where I post the videos. But then I'm on the Splinterlands stream team. So every Monday night from 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, we have an awesome time and you get me solo. So come out, hang out.
Yep. All right, Steve.
I'm Stever82. You can find me on YouTube and on Peak D. Definitely, I post to there as well. That's where all my Splinterlands content will be for sure. My YouTube channel does cover some other projects such as Gala Games, mostly because I am kind of heavily invested into that one. And I do play around with posting about DeFi stuff as well. So my channel's a little bit more all over the place but that's just because those are the things that I'm doing, so I share those with you.
There you go. If you want to be more than a Splinterlands maximalist, go follow Steve. Is that the key?
Well, you got to put all the money you make into DeFi farms that make it even more money.
There you go. Steve's got the strats.
Stacks on stacks.
The best of both worlds there. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Community, thank you for being in the chat. Whether you're bearish or bullish, it's just great having you. I love the discussion, and hopefully we'll get some more next week as well. Thank you, everyone, for being here. For now, peace out. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.